Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present our work here in Global X Workshop 2021. My name is Silvia Barbosa. Currently, I'm a PhD student and a member of Nova CLUN. And Susana Duarte Martins, my colleague, teaches Portuguese for foreigners at Nova University of Lisbon and has a PhD in linguistics and is also a member of Nova CLUN. We will present a sample of our work where we collected neologisms in press and social media related with COVID-19 and see how European Portuguese dictionaries have incorporated them in order to demonstrate the lexical vitality during this specific period. We know the outbreak had and still have a huge impact on human lives. According to Thorne, the corona's peak has three stages. First, emerge in the way medical aspects were communicated in everyday language. The second moment, when speakers verbalized the experience they had undergone and invented their own terms. And finally, this new way of speaking show up in the government and authority jargons to ensure that the new rules and policies were understood by the population to be social responsible behaviors. We will focus on our attention on the second stage, how speakers communicate and verbalize this new way of living. Alongside, we are interested in the context in which the neologism, be it a new word, a new meaning, or a new use, emerge, is used and understood.
When it comes to the core issues of neology, there are divergent perspectives given the complexity of the concepts of neology and neologisms. The issue of the definition of neologism is in the concept of novelty. It is a new word regarding what or whom. For Guerrero Ramos and Lino, the neological feeling is crucial to identify and delimit a neologism. Another core issue regards neologisms typologies. For instance, Sable presents 12 types of neologisms typologies. In a recent research, Jesus summarizes the formation processes in three fundamental types: formal, semantic, and loan processes. For this researcher, stress should be put on the pragmatic and discursive factors of neologisms. There seems to be a consensus among experts in the fact that a unit ceases to be a neologism when it does not appear in the dictionary, and the dictionary is a means of measuring neology. Media plays an important role in the identification of neologisms, given that it conveys the standard language and can influence speakers by creating linguistic trends. As Provost and Sable advocate, both the media and the dictionaries are regulatory tools for neologisms. We cannot speak about neology in Portugal without mentioning two important neology observatories in the country. The Observatory of Neology and Terminology in Portuguese Language of the Linguistics Research Center of Nova University of Lisbon, created in the 1980s, and the Neology Observatory founded at the Research Center of ILTEC in 2004. Both observatories are currently in standby.
Dictionaries are cultural objects important in societies. European Portuguese dictionaries don't have a normative language policy, even though we have Academia das Ciências de Lisboa, which provides the Portuguese government with consultancy in linguistic and scientific matters of national interest. They have a descriptive status that the speakers consider them as reference works with the intended correct use. We will present two digital dictionaries. On your left side, Dicionário Infopédia da Língua Portuguesa, and on your right side, Dicionário Primeirão da Língua Portuguesa. Besides the language dictionaries, they also include several linguistic resources such as verb conjugators and spell checkers. Considering the number of lemmas for Infopédia, we have information from 2007 mentioning more than 240,000 lemmas. For Primeirão, we have updated information with more than 133,000, but neither of them has information about methodology or the date of insertion of the lemmas.
As a rule, the Portuguese online dictionaries do not mention the date of the first occurrence or insertion of the lemmas, so if one needs to monitor the inclusion of new units for the reformulation or adaptation of definitions in the dictionaries, practically the only methodology at our reach is to take screenshots of the lookup window and of the entry's microstructure to observe the lexicographical representation of certain units at a given time. As we can see in the example, on December 7th, there were 4 entries associated with COVID-19 in the Infopedia dictionary and 5 in the Primeran dictionary. 4 months later, the Infopedia dictionary had already the same 5 entries as the Primeran dictionary, while Primeran had included 1 more entry, COVID drive.
In order to do our work, we had 2 phases, one where we extract manual and semi-manual the candidates from Public Express, Facebook and Twitter, and in a second phase where we observe the units in the digital dictionaries such as Infopedia and Primeira. Here we can see a sample of candidates we extracted manually and semi-manually, like Old Normal, Lockdown, Pandemic Generation, COVID Language, Swab, to name just a few. After the manual and semi-manual extraction, we create a database with several fields: the candidate, the context, the source, and the date of inclusion. And our selection for today is a subset of 4 units, so coronavirus, COVID-19, and pandemia, because they seem to be used as a kind of synonyms and related with the disease itself, and the prefix tele because people tend to rely on the digital aspect to communicate. Obviously, we had to choose criteria for the selection of the neologism candidates. So based on Cabré, we decided for the diachronic criteria, psychological criteria, systematic instability criteria, and lexicographical criteria.
For our analysis, we confirmed whether the 4 selected units were included in the nomenclature of the Infopedia and Primeran dictionaries. Afterwards, we observed the microstructure of the entries, namely the content of the definitions and the type of words related to the units under study in both dictionaries. As a result, the comparative analysis was carried out in 2 steps. First, we have performed a search in the lookup window where a set of words starting with the same characters are displayed. Entries with no definitions attached were identified in the Primeran dictionary. Then we have observed the related words, similar words and nearby words and the like within each dictionary entry that came up in the previous search. Finally, we will present the neologisms candidates collected from different sources and discuss their formation processes. Here are some examples collected from the media and social networks. Coronatrike or Troika virus, also found in other languages in the web, to mention financial problems resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. Covidário, placed in a health establishment intended for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. Pandemia, a wordplay or pun with pão, that means bread, to express the trend of homemade bread during the pandemic. As for the prefix tele, we have identified telerazing, telepraxe, and telebourgeoisie, teleburguesia as neologisms candidates.
In this section, we will present some data related with coronavirus. On the left side, we have definitions in the 2 dictionaries, and both stress it's a common designation of a certain family of virus. The virus causes a set of symptoms and has a shape of a crown. Infopedia includes other types of coronavirus like MERS-CoV and SARS. The fact that in the definition includes COVID-19 suggests an update of the definition to accommodate a new reality. On the right side, we can see a comparison of the words retrieved on both dictionaries. Primeira has 12 related entries and Infopedia has 10. However, Primeira includes units that have no definition available, such as coronavirus and coronavisor. Also, we see that coronavirus, coronavisor, coronavirologia, coronavirologista, and coronaphobia and coronaphobico show instability concerning their fixation as entries in both dictionaries. In here we have the definitions of COVID-19. We can see that Infopedia displays small and capital letters, so COVID-19, but Primeira only have COVID. We know that they already had COVID-19, but recently they had deleted, so now you can only search for COVID. You can see Infopedia has more information about the year of the outbreak, the type of illness, the symptoms, the other types of corona, and also the place of origin and when it started, while in the Primeira it's more generic. On the right side we have some results. We can see that the difference between Infopedia that states COVID-19 and Primeira that states COVID only. We also see that they inserted anti-COVID in Primeira, but anti-COVID-19 in Infopedia. So we can see that only those are different. All the rest is the same. To summarize, coronavirus is kind of used as a synonym of SARS-CoV-2, show us some graphical instability. It's very common the use of new coronavirus. Is the first element of several compound words, is used as loan words. The prefixes are used as a time marker, like pre and post. And the suffix, like phobia and phobic, convey the fear of the pandemic as usually is used. COVID-19 is also the same thing, is used kind of a synonym of SARS-CoV-2, has graphical and gender variation. We have several wordplays used in the media, like Covid dizer ou covidiano, the use of before and after COVID as the initialisms, the loanwords, some of them semi or totally adapted to Portuguese graphical system, and the prefixation and suffixation are very productive.
Regarding the definitions of pandemic, the dictionaries highlight that it is an outbreak of an infectious disease. It spreads worldwide and affects a high number of people simultaneously. One interesting remark concerning related and nearby words of pandemia is that in the Infopedia dictionary, pandemic is associated with coronavirus, COVID-19, and outbreak, while the Primeira dictionary connects it to a calamity, but also fatigue or tiredness and covidic. The units retrieved from coronavirus, pandemiologia, pandemiology, and pandemiológico, pandemiological, are not found in the Infopedia dictionary. However, the Primeira dictionary integrates these units in its nomenclature. Our research has also shown that even though pandemiology is not included in the Infopedia dictionary, and neology is attested in that dictionary. Given the instability of dictionarization of these units, they can also be considered as cases of units losing their neologism status. Both dictionaries mention that the prefix tele is a compositional element associated with the concept of distance. However, only the Primeira dictionary mentions that this prefix can also be used as a truncated element of television. Since we are dealing with a highly frequent prefix as a word formation process, and the Portuguese digital dictionaries display no information regarding the dates of each entry, it is not possible to apply it the same analysis conducted for the other units under study. As for the neologisms candidates related to pandemic, we have identified prefixes to delimit a period. Pré-pandemia, pós-pandemia. Units related to the military semantic fields, such as combate à pandemia, lutar contra a pandemia, batalha contra a pandemia. and also phonological neologisms regarding workplace or puns were frequent. Fraudemia, infodemia, and the case we already mentioned, pandemia. The prefix "tele" expresses generally the concept of distance but also physical absence from the workplace or other events such as teletrabalho, teleensino, or telepraxe. Even though some units like teleschool, telescola were not recently created, their meaning has been extended. Finally, given their recurrency among the neologisms candidates, we will also add examples of phrasal noun constructions such as generation pandemic, COVID tongue, and COVID-19 victim, among others. In conclusion, the units that only appear in one dictionary show different lexicographical criteria. Changes in the nomenclature and in the definition of some of the units under study were also identified. New units without definition may be explained by the lexicographer's will to respond to society's linguistic needs, as it was the case in Priberan Dictionary. The Infopedia and Priberan dictionaries do not mention the date of the first occurrence of or insertion of the lemmas. However, the date may occasionally appear within their definitions, such is the case of COVID-19. The current research shows the vitality of lexical neology processes in the domain of COVID-19 in a specific period, contributing to the neology field of the European Portuguese variety. Here are our references, and thank you for listening.